In 1991, a retired Cold War facility in Nevada was being dismantled until one locked room was opened. Inside, they found an old surveillance camera still powered on. But what it recorded wasn't the past. It was footage from the future. No one could explain how it worked. No power source, no media input. And yet, day after day, it kept showing events that hadn't happened yet. Deaths, disasters, even their own faces. They called it Project REDVAULT, a black-budget experiment buried so deep, even the Pentagon denied it ever existed. This is the story of the camera that filmed the future, and the people who tried to stop what it showed from coming true. July 19, 1991. Fort Eden, Nevada. A decommissioned Cold War research facility buried under 80 feet of desert rock, sealed since the early 70s. Officially, it was a systems test site. Unofficially, no one could explain half the equipment left behind. Dr. Peter Wells was part of the federal decommission team, a civilian optics specialist brought in to catalog any functioning visual equipment before demolition. A boring, low-level gig, until he found room 6B. It was located behind a sealed lead-lined vault door, disconnected from the main floor plan. No access logs, no environmental controls, not even a circuit diagram. But inside, a single room. Silent, dustless, still powered. At the center stood a large steel tripod, holding a black-bodied camera the size of a microwave, aimed at a blank concrete wall. The lens was massive, older military glass, cracked slightly along the edge. A red metal tag was bolted beneath it. Project REDVAULT. Do not adjust optics. U.S. Army Signal Intel, 1965. To the side, two CRT monitors sat humming on a metal desk. One was dark. The other displayed a grainy feed, a live view of the room. But something was off. Peter leaned closer. The room in the feed. It wasn't this room, not exactly. It looked the same. Same concrete, same desk, same camera. But there were two people in it. A woman in a white lab coat and a man in a suit. Both talking quietly. The man lit a cigarette. The woman pointed at the camera and said something. Peter checked behind him. The room was empty. He hit rewind. Nothing happened. He tried ejecting the tape. There was no VCR, no media input at all. The camera wasn't connected to anything. But the footage continued. Then he saw it. On the wall in the video, just behind the woman's shoulder, was a calendar. October 12, 2024. Wells backed away. The woman turned and stared directly into the lens. Her lips moved. He froze the screen. Zoomed in. We're already in it. Then the feed cut to black. Wells tried to power cycle the equipment, but nothing responded. He marked the room for full extraction and flagged the anomaly for military review. But that night, before the equipment could be removed, the entire room, camera, desk, monitors, disappeared. No signs of entry, just an empty space where room 6B had been. The following week, Peter received a call from a blocked number. A man's voice said, "Forget what you saw. There was no camera, no feed, no future." And the line went dead. 3 months passed. Peter Wells tried to move on until he found the reel. It showed up in his mail without explanation. A canister, 16 millimeter, postmarked from Lander, Wyoming, a town he'd never been to. No return address, no stamps, just his name, written in red marker, and one word scrawled across the side: REDVAULT. He borrowed an old projector from a university lab and threaded the film. The image was degraded, scratchy, missing audio, but recognizable. A fixed shot. Room 6B. Same camera, same desk. Only this time, something had changed. The walls were covered in writing. Dozens of phrases, scrawled in chalk or soot, circled the entire room. Some were equations, others warnings. But one sentence appeared in larger, looping script, directly on the back wall. If you see this, you've already changed it. The reel stuttered, jumped frames. Then, a new scene appeared. Peter himself, older maybe by 10 years, seated at the desk in room 6B, staring straight ahead. Same face, same nervous tick in his jaw. He didn't move, just watched. And then, slowly, his future self whispered something. It loops. God help us. It loops. The feed cut to white. Peter recoiled. He hadn't been to that room in months, hadn't spoken a word of it since the shutdown. Yet here was a future version of him caught on camera, in a room that no longer existed. He brought the reel to a colleague in military archival services. They ran it through spectrum analysis and timestamp verification. The reel hadn't been made recently. In fact, the film stock used hadn't existed since 1974. Even more disturbing, the emulsion on the strip held ionized particle signatures, the kind produced only by high-intensity electromagnetic fields, like those in experimental signal capture labs. The kind REDVAULT had supposedly been designed for. That night, Peter's apartment was broken into. Nothing was stolen, but his phone was fried, his laptop too. Only the reel remained, now missing 5 frames in the middle. He re-watched what was left. Now, in the middle of the feed, where the missing frames had been, was a blank white screen with one sentence burned in, like a title card from an old spy film. Sequence detected. Next viewer ready. He didn't sleep that night, and by morning, a new envelope appeared under his door. No markings, just a flash drive. Inside it, a video file. Resolution 640 by 480. Metadata date August 3rd, 2031. Duration 19 seconds. The footage, room 6B. But now, it wasn't just him. There were 3 other people in the shot. 2 he didn't recognize. One was Dr. Evelyn Rourke, a name he hadn't heard in 11 years. A Cold War signal analyst believed to be dead after a lab fire in 1999. She looked directly at the lens. "This isn't surveillance," she said. "It's recursion. We're watching ourselves create the future." Peter Wells disappeared from public records on October 9th, 1992. There was no funeral, no obituary, only a thin manila file handed over to a congressional oversight committee 3 years later. Inside, redacted notes, one black and white photo of room 6B, and a memo labeled, "Redacted, Recursive Visual Asset Loop, Subject, REDVAULT." But REDVAULT didn't stop with Peter. May 14th, 2029, Lunavox Deep Archive, Seattle Division. Dr. Evelyn Rourke reappeared. Her death certificate had never been formally closed, and now, 3 decades after the REDVAULT incident, she stood at the helm of a private sector black project labeled Chronospatial Feedback Imaging Initiative. The equipment? Familiar. The feed? Stabilized. But the rules had changed. They weren't trying to analyze the footage anymore. They were trying to predict when the next frame would arrive. Footage from a future that hadn't been shot yet. And then, one day, it came. A new reel. Digital this time. Resolution 4K. Color graded. Embedded time code. September 19th, 2044. The location? Not room 6B. This time, it was a wide shot of a news broadcast studio. Slick LED screens, a ticker running headlines. But every monitor in the room glitched in unison. Behind the news anchor, a looping phrase scrolled across all screens. The recording completes the event. Then came static, and another face appeared. Not Evelyn, not Peter. A child, maybe 9 or 10, sitting on a classroom floor, watching a TV cart. The screen showed REDVAULT's footage. His mouth opened, repeating a sentence. "I saw this before I was born." Frame by frame, the feed accelerated. Dozens of locations, buildings collapsing, eyes staring into cameras, people running through corridors that hadn't been built yet. And always the camera. The black-bodied, red-tagged relic from 1965. Sitting somewhere in the background, pointed at something it shouldn't have seen yet. The final 12 seconds of the reel showed one thing. A terminal screen. White text. Black background. You are the observer. The observer activates the loop. Do not record this. Do not replicate this. Do not share this. But you already did. Rourke tried to disconnect the drive, but the terminal didn't belong to their system. It had no power. Yet, it kept typing. The footage doesn't show the future. It creates it. In 2031, the REDVAULT camera reappeared, not in a lab, but on a private security network in Reykjavik, a parking garage, 3rd level, unmarked. But the feed showed something impossible. Evelyn Rourke, walking past the lens with Peter Wells by her side. They hadn't aged. They stopped, looked into the camera. Rourke whispered, "Exposure complete. Frame locked." The feed corrupted, rebooted. The footage timestamp now read 1965. Today, somewhere inside a sealed archive, air-gapped and under biometric lock, there's a terminal no one can turn off. Its screen cycles one line. Recording 000001281. Next viewer, pending. And if you watch long enough, your name appears next. Because REDVAULT doesn't record what's happened. It records who's watching. And that's how the loop begins again. What you heard tonight, it's just one of many. Subscribe to Hauntica for stories that shouldn't exist.